There will never be a perfect time to act. Life will always be heavy, complicated, unfair, and demanding. Waiting for things to get easier is how most dreams quietly die. The people who win are not the ones with the easiest lives. They are the ones who keep moving when life is hard. You don't build your future on good days. You build it on the days when you feel tired, overwhelmed, discouraged, and tempted to quit. That is where real discipline is forged, not in comfort, not in motivation, but in the decision to stand up and do the work anyway. This audiobook is for those moments when you want to stop, when excuses sound reasonable, when the weight of life makes you question your strength. It is a reminder that your circumstances do not define your limits, your choices do. Because the person you become is created by what you do when no one is watching and nothing feels easy. So push yourself, get it done, and finish what you started. Chapter 1. Life is hard, do the work anyway. Life does not wait for your mood to improve before it starts making demands. Bills still arrive, responsibilities still knock, problems still rise. You may wake up tired, confused, heavy, uncertain, and discouraged, but the day does not pause for your emotions. This is the first truth every strong person learns. Hardship is not an interruption to life. Hardship is life. The sooner you stop waiting for things to feel easier, the sooner you begin building real strength. Growth does not require comfort. It requires commitment. And commitment is choosing to move even when you would rather collapse. Every dream is born into resistance. Nothing meaningful arrives in calm conditions. You are forged in the fire of pressure, not in the quiet of convenience. The world will test your patience, your confidence, your hope, and your endurance. Some days you will question everything you believe about yourself, but the work still remains. This is where discipline separates from desire. Anyone can act when life feels light. Few can act when life feels heavy. Those few create futures that most only imagine. You will have days when your mind whispers that you deserve rest, delay, escape, and distraction. And sometimes rest is necessary. But more often, that voice is simply fear disguised as self-care. It is comfort begging you not to grow. It is the old version of you protecting its territory. Real progress demands discomfort. It demands action in moments when you would rather choose safety. When you move anyway, you break the grip of weakness and take one step closer to becoming unrecognizable. Hard days are not obstacles. They are invitations. They invite you to prove who you are becoming. They reveal whether your character is built on conditions or on conviction. Anyone can stay committed when things go smoothly. Strength is revealed when everything feels unstable, when nothing is guaranteed, when effort hurts. That is when your true foundation is tested. That is when you decide if your future is worth the sacrifice your present is demanding. Most people wait for motivation to arrive before they begin. But motivation is unreliable and fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind. Discipline, however, stays when motivation disappears. Discipline shows up in exhaustion. Discipline moves through fear. Discipline carries you forward when excitement fades. The person who learns to work without motivation becomes unstoppable. They are no longer dependent on how they feel. They become governed by who they choose to be. There will be moments when your mind tells you that you are behind, that you are failing, that it is too late to catch up. These thoughts are lies meant to keep you small. Life is not a race against others. It is a battle with yourself. The only person you must surpass is the version of you that quits when things get difficult. Every time you refuse to stop, you rewrite the story of your limits. Pressure reveals priorities. When life becomes heavy, you quickly learn what truly matters. Comfort fades. Distractions lose their power. You begin to understand that your future is built by small choices repeated daily. You do not need dramatic breakthroughs. You need consistent action. You need the courage to keep going long after the excitement of starting has disappeared. This is where most people fail, and this is where you must continue. The work will not always feel meaningful in the moment. You will not always see results immediately. Some days will feel like you are pouring effort into an empty space, but unseen growth is still growth. Roots develop in darkness before the tree ever rises into the light. What you do today, in silence and struggle, becomes the strength you stand on tomorrow. Life will never stop testing you. New problems will replace old ones. New challenges will demand new levels of strength. Waiting for the perfect season to act is a dangerous illusion. There is no perfect season. There is only this moment, and what you choose to do with it. Every moment of effort compounds. Every delay compounds as well. Choose wisely which future you are building. When everything feels heavy, that is when your actions matter most. When the mind is tired and the body is slow, continuing anyway forges unbreakable resilience. You may not feel powerful in these moments, but you are becoming powerful. Strength is not loud. It is built quietly through repeated decisions to keep going when stopping would be easier. You will discover that you are capable of far more than you once believed. The limit you imagined was only the edge of your comfort, not the edge of your potential. Each time you push past it, your world expands. What once felt impossible becomes your new normal. This is how confidence is earned, not through thinking, but through surviving what you thought you could not. Your circumstances may not be fair. Your path may not be easy, but your responsibility remains the same. You are responsible for your effort. You are responsible for your choices. You are responsible for how you respond when life pushes back. You cannot control the storm, but you can decide whether you keep walking. There is dignity in perseverance. There is honor in refusing to surrender to circumstances. The person who keeps moving when life is hard commands respect, even from themselves. Self-respect is built when you do what you said you would do long after the mood has vanished. That is how trust in yourself is created. Every hard season carries a lesson. Every struggle sharpens your awareness. Pain teaches you where your limits used to be. The more you endure, the more resilient you become. You stop fearing difficulty because you have learned that difficulty does not destroy you. It strengthens you. One day, you will look back at this version of yourself and feel proud. Proud that you did not quit. Proud that you stayed. Proud that you continued when everything inside you wanted to stop. That pride will not come from comfort. It will come from the quiet victories no one else saw. Do not underestimate the power of showing up on ordinary days. These are the days that decide your future, not the dramatic ones, not the emotional ones. The ordinary ones where you choose effort over excuses and action over comfort. That is the work that changes everything. When you learn to move through hardship, fear loses its grip on you. You realize that discomfort is temporary, but regret lasts much longer. You stop asking whether something is easy and start asking whether it is necessary. This shift alone will change your life. There is no shortcut to becoming strong. Strength is built through repetition, through persistence, through continuing long after the initial excitement has faded. The person you want to become is shaped by the decisions you make when the path feels long and the progress feels slow. Your future self is counting on the choices you make today. Every small act of discipline becomes a building block for the life you are creating. Even when it feels insignificant, it matters. Even when no one is watching, it matters, especially then. Life is hard. That truth will never change. But neither does this one. You are capable of meeting it. Each time you choose to do the work anyway, You claim your strength. You step into your power. And you move one step closer to the life you are meant to live. Chapter 2. Motivation fades. Discipline remains. Motivation is emotional. It rises when things feel exciting and disappears when life becomes difficult. Discipline, however, is not tied to feeling. It is a decision you make regardless of your emotional state. When motivation leaves, and it always will, discipline is what carries you forward. The people who build extraordinary lives are not the ones who feel inspired every day. They are the ones who continue even when inspiration is gone. Most people wait for the perfect mood to begin. They wait for energy, confidence, excitement, and clarity. But these feelings are unpredictable and unreliable. If your progress depends on how you feel, your future will always remain uncertain. Discipline creates stability. It allows you to act even when your emotions are chaotic. This is how you create momentum that does not collapse under pressure. There will be mornings when your mind is heavy and your body feels unwilling. There will be evenings when exhaustion tempts you to postpone everything important. These are the moments when discipline matters most. Discipline does not argue with excuses. It simply moves. Each time you choose action over comfort, your identity begins to shift. Discipline builds character in silence. No applause follows your daily effort. No one celebrates your consistency behind closed doors, but those quiet decisions compound into confidence, self-respect, and inner strength. When you show up for yourself again and again, you begin to trust yourself. That trust becomes the foundation of every future success. Motivation may start the journey, but discipline finishes it. Every goal, every dream, every transformation reaches a point where excitement fades and the work becomes heavy. This is where most people stop. They confuse discomfort with failure. They mistake difficulty for a sign to quit. Discipline teaches you that struggle is simply the price of progress. When you stop relying on motivation, you become unstoppable. You are no longer controlled by emotion or circumstance. You begin to operate from commitment. Commitment does not ask whether the path is easy. It asks whether the destination is worth the effort. Once you answer that question, discipline becomes your guide. There will be days when discipline feels mechanical and boring. Progress will feel slow. Results may feel invisible. But this is the stage where real transformation is taking place. Consistency reshapes your mind. It trains your nervous system to handle pressure. It conditions you to keep moving when the world pushes back. Discipline teaches you how to stay when everything inside you wants to leave. It builds patience in moments of frustration. It creates clarity when doubt tries to cloud your thinking. Over time, discipline becomes your natural state. You stop negotiating with yourself. You simply do what must be done. The strongest people are not those with endless motivation. They are the ones who have mastered their routines. Their success is built on systems, not feelings. Systems create reliability. Feelings fluctuate. When you organize your life around discipline, your results become predictable and powerful. Every act of discipline is a declaration of self-respect. You are telling yourself that your future matters, that your goals deserve effort, that your comfort does not come before your growth. Over time, this mindset reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You become someone who finishes. Discipline trains you to move through resistance. The discomfort that once frightened you becomes familiar. You learn that progress always feels uncomfortable before it feels rewarding. This understanding gives you emotional control. You stop fearing difficulty because you know it is simply part of the process. Motivation asks, "Do I feel like it?" Discipline asks, "What must be done?" This shift in thinking changes everything. When your actions are driven by responsibility instead of emotion, your life becomes structured, focused, and purposeful. Discipline builds mental toughness. It strengthens your ability to stay focused when distractions appear. It sharpens your capacity to endure pressure. Over time, you develop a calm confidence that does not depend on external circumstances. You become stable even when life is unstable. Every disciplined action is a vote for the person you want to become. Each time you keep your word to yourself, your self-belief grows stronger. Eventually, you stop doubting your ability to follow through. You know that when you decide something, it will get done. The world respects consistency, opportunities trust reliability. People are drawn to those who show up regardless of conditions. Discipline makes you dependable to others and to yourself. That dependability becomes your quiet advantage in a noisy world. Discipline creates freedom. The more control you have over your actions, the less control fear and circumstance have over your life. You stop being reactive. You become deliberate. You begin shaping your future with intention instead of impulse. Every day you practice discipline, you strengthen the bridge between your present self and your future self. You reduce the distance between who you are and who you want to be. The gap closes through consistent effort, not sudden bursts of motivation. Eventually, discipline becomes your identity. You no longer seek motivation. You no longer wait for the right feeling. You move because movement is who you are. This is the stage where your life truly begins to change. Motivation may fade, but discipline remains. It remains in the quiet hours. It remains in exhaustion. It remains when the work feels heavy. And because it remains, so do your results. This is the power of discipline. It does not promise comfort. It promises transformation. And for those who are willing to commit, it delivers everything that motivation never could. Chapter 3. How to act when you feel exhausted. Exhaustion is one of the greatest tests of discipline. It is easy to act when energy is high. It is easy to move when motivation is strong. But real growth begins when your body is tired and your mind is heavy. These are the moments that define your character. When you choose to act anyway, you are not just completing a task, you are reshaping your identity. There will be days when even simple effort feels overwhelming. Your thoughts will feel slow, your movements will feel heavy. Everything inside you will ask for rest and retreat. But there is a deeper strength available in these moments. It is the strength that emerges only when you refuse to surrender to fatigue. Exhaustion does not mean weakness. It means you are pushing your limits. It means you are expanding beyond the comfort that once confined you. When you continue despite feeling tired, your nervous system adapts. Your tolerance for difficulty grows. What once exhausted you becomes manageable. And what once felt impossible becomes normal. You must learn the difference between rest and avoidance. Rest restores you, avoidance weakens you. When exhaustion appears, your first instinct may be to stop completely. But often, the better choice is to slow down, not to shut down. Even small steps forward keep your momentum alive. Action in exhaustion builds extraordinary resilience. It teaches you that you are not controlled by your energy level, you are guided by your commitment. The more you practice moving while tired, the more you expand your capacity to endure. Over time, you become someone who can function under pressure without falling apart. There is a powerful transformation that occurs when you complete something while exhausted. Your confidence multiplies, your self-trust strengthens. You begin to believe in your own reliability. This belief becomes a foundation that supports you in every challenge that follows. When your mind tells you that you cannot continue, it is often protecting you from discomfort, not danger. The mind seeks safety. Growth requires risk. Learning to act through exhaustion is learning to choose growth over safety. That choice changes everything. Exhaustion reveals your true priorities. When energy is limited, you quickly discover what truly matters. Distractions lose their power. Excuses lose their appeal. Only essential action remains. This clarity sharpens your focus and strengthens your discipline. Every time you push through fatigue, you are training your future self. You are building the version of you who can withstand long roads, difficult seasons, and heavy responsibilities. This version of you is not born from comfort. It is built from endurance. Progress does not pause because you are tired. Time does not slow because you are overwhelmed. The world continues to move. When you learn to move with it, even when exhausted, you stay aligned with your goals instead of drifting away from them. Exhaustion is temporary. Regret is permanent. This truth must guide your decisions. When you choose to stop simply because you are tired, you often carry the weight of unfinished work long after your body has recovered. When you choose to continue, you carry pride instead. The body adapts to the demands you place upon it. When you repeatedly choose action over surrender, your stamina increases. What once drained you becomes routine. Your capacity grows quietly and steadily with each disciplined decision. Acting while exhausted teaches you patience. It forces you to slow down without quitting. You learn how to pace yourself instead of abandoning the journey. This skill becomes invaluable as your goals grow larger and your responsibilities expand. You are not required to be perfect when you are tired. You are only required to show up. Showing up, even imperfectly, keeps the process alive. Progress thrives on presence, not perfection. There will be moments when you feel empty inside, when motivation is gone and hope feels distant. These moments are dangerous because they whisper that nothing you do matters. But this is precisely when your actions matter most. Each task you complete while exhausted strengthens your mental toughness. You stop fearing fatigue because you have proven you can function within it. This gives you emotional stability in situations that once overwhelmed you. Exhaustion strips away illusions. It exposes your raw discipline. It reveals whether your effort depends on comfort or on commitment. The more often you choose commitment, the more stable your life becomes. You do not need to conquer everything in one day. You only need to keep moving. Consistent motion, even slow motion, builds extraordinary momentum over time. Exhaustion often appears just before a breakthrough. It signals that you are approaching a new level of growth. When you push past this point, your potential expands. There is a quiet pride that comes from surviving hard days, from continuing when the body is tired and the mind is unsure. This pride becomes fuel for future challenges. Your capacity is larger than your comfort suggests. When you repeatedly move beyond your comfort, you uncover new levels of strength within yourself. Exhaustion teaches you discipline without excitement. It shows you how to act without emotional reward. This ability separates those who dream from those who build. You become mentally dangerous when you master action under fatigue. You become someone who does not break under pressure, someone who remains steady when others collapse. Every difficult season trains you. Every exhausting effort prepares you. Nothing is wasted. Everything becomes part of your foundation. Your future will require stamina. The life you want will demand endurance. Learning to act while exhausted is the preparation for that life. Exhaustion humbles you. It removes ego and replaces it with focus. You stop chasing applause and start honoring responsibility. This discipline carries into every area of your life. Relationships, work, purpose, and growth all become stronger when you learn to move through fatigue. When you act while exhausted, you send a message to your mind: we do not quit. This message becomes your identity. Over time, your mind stops negotiating. It understands that when work appears, action follows. This mental shift creates freedom. You will discover that exhaustion does not control you. You control your response to exhaustion. That control becomes your power. Your greatest victories are often earned on your most difficult days. Not on your best days, not on your easiest days, but on the days you almost quit. Exhaustion does not define you, your response does. Each time you continue, you rewrite your limits. Each time you finish what you start while tired, you strengthen your future. Each time you act when you feel exhausted, you become unstoppable. This is how endurance is built. This is how strength is earned. This is how your life changes. Chapter 4. Break the habit of quitting. Quitting is not something you do once in a while. It is something you train yourself to do over time. Every small moment when you walk away from difficulty becomes a lesson your mind remembers. The mind begins to associate discomfort with escape and effort with danger. This is how the habit is formed. The longer you allow this pattern to repeat, the stronger it becomes. But habits are not permanent. They are patterns, and patterns can be broken. The moment you decide to stay when everything inside you wants to leave, the process of transformation begins. Most people do not quit because they are weak. They quit because they are uncomfortable. They quit because the work becomes heavier than the story they were telling themselves. They quit because progress is slower than expected. They quit because doubt arrives and stays too long. But discomfort is not a warning sign. It is the doorway into growth. When you remain inside discomfort instead of running from it, your tolerance expands. What once overwhelmed you becomes something you can handle. Every time you finish something that once tempted you to quit, you change the way you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who gives up when things become difficult. You begin to see yourself as someone who stays. This shift is powerful. It builds trust inside your own mind. That trust becomes confidence. Confidence becomes momentum. And momentum becomes the engine of every future success. The mind will always try to protect you from pain. It will offer excuses that feel reasonable and comforting. It will say you are tired, that the timing is wrong, that this effort is unnecessary, that you can do it later. You must learn to recognize these thoughts for what they are. They are not truth. They are fear wearing the mask of logic. When you stop listening to that voice, your life begins to change. Quitting gives temporary relief, but permanent regret. Perseverance gives temporary pain, but permanent pride. One choice makes you smaller, the other makes you stronger. Every moment you hesitate, this decision is waiting for you, and every time you choose to continue, even when it hurts, you are building a version of yourself that cannot be easily broken. Breaking the habit of quitting requires you to stay in the moment when it feels uncomfortable. It requires you to resist the urge to escape. It requires you to finish even when your emotions argue against it. This is not about being perfect. It is about being faithful to your own commitment. When you honor your word to yourself, your self-respect grows, and with self-respect comes unshakable inner strength. You do not wake up one day with a strong mind. You build it by surviving the moments when quitting feels logical. Those moments are the training ground. They are where your discipline is formed. They are where your character is shaped. The more often you stay, the more your mind learns that you are not controlled by your feelings. Most people quit long before their true limits appear. They mistake discomfort for failure. They mistake slow progress for wasted effort. But progress is often invisible before it becomes visible. Growth happens underground before it ever appears on the surface. If you leave too early, you never experience the harvest that was already forming. The habit of quitting shrinks your world. It lowers your expectations. It teaches you to live beneath your potential. The habit of staying expands your world. It raises your standards. It forces you to become stronger than your circumstances. Every time you refuse to quit, your future becomes larger than your past. Your life is built on the moments when you could have walked away but chose to continue. Those moments are rarely dramatic. They are quiet. They happen when no one is watching. They happen when the work feels heavy and the results feel far away. But these moments decide everything. When you continue in spite of difficulty, your mind adapts. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. What once felt impossible becomes familiar. This is how resilience is created, not through comfort. Through endurance. You cannot grow without resistance. You cannot become strong without struggle. And you cannot break the habit of quitting without facing the urge to quit again and again. Each time you resist that urge, you weaken its grip. Over time, it loses its power. The greatest victories in your life will not come from your easiest days. They will come from the days you almost stopped, the days you almost surrendered, the days you chose to continue anyway. Those days shape your destiny. Finishing what you start creates a deep internal stability. You begin to trust your decisions. You stop doubting your ability to follow through. This trust becomes the foundation for everything else you build. Quitting ends stories. Staying creates them. Every great life is built on chapters of perseverance that most people never see. The road is long, the work is hard, and that is exactly why it is worth it. Your future is waiting for the version of you who does not quit. Every time you stay, you move closer to that version. Every time you stay, you become more of who you are meant to be. There is no shortcut to becoming unbreakable. There is only the daily choice to continue, to stay, to endure, to grow. This is how you break the habit of quitting. This is how you build a life that cannot be destroyed. Chapter 5. Build strength through daily pressure. Pressure enters your life not to destroy you, but to shape you into something stronger than you were before. Every difficult day carries the weight of transformation inside it, even if you cannot see it yet. When life applies pressure, it is forcing you to discover the depth of your own capacity. Without pressure, you remain comfortable and untested, unaware of what you are capable of becoming. Strength does not arrive from ease. It arrives from survival. The more you endure, the more your foundation solidifies. This is how resilience is born, quietly, through repetition, through effort, through refusal to surrender. Daily pressure teaches you to organize your mind instead of reacting emotionally to everything around you. When responsibilities pile up, you are forced to choose clarity over chaos. You stop drifting through your days and start steering them. Pressure demands structure, and structure builds discipline. Discipline builds confidence. Over time, this internal order becomes your advantage in every environment. You no longer panic when problems appear. You assess, adapt, and continue forward with steady control. When pressure becomes part of your routine, your tolerance for difficulty expands naturally. What once overwhelmed you becomes something you handle with calm determination. You begin to recognize that your limits were never fixed, only untested. Each hard day stretches those limits slightly further. Over weeks and months, the person you were becomes unrecognizable. This is not sudden change, it is slow construction. Brick by brick, pressure builds your strength. Pressure reveals your priorities in ways comfort never could. When time is tight and energy is limited, distractions lose their power. You stop giving attention to what does not move your life forward. Every choice becomes intentional. You learn the value of focus. You learn how to protect your energy. You begin investing your effort where it truly matters. This shift alone changes the entire direction of your life. Most people attempt to escape pressure because it feels heavy, but weight is what builds muscle. The resistance that exhausts you today is shaping the power you will rely on tomorrow. Without resistance, there is no development. Without challenge, there is no evolution. The person who understands this no longer fears pressure. They begin to welcome it as the environment where growth happens. Under daily pressure, you develop emotional control. You stop making decisions from panic or frustration. You slow down your reactions and sharpen your thinking. The mind becomes disciplined under stress. The heart becomes steady under uncertainty. This emotional maturity becomes one of your greatest assets. You are no longer thrown off course by every obstacle. You remain centered even when conditions are unstable. Pressure also trains your patience, not the passive patience of waiting, but the active patience of continuing to work while results are delayed. You learn to stay committed even when progress is invisible. This kind of patience is rare and powerful. It allows your effort to compound. It allows you to outlast obstacles that cause others to quit too early. Every day you survive under pressure builds evidence inside your mind that you are capable. That evidence slowly silences self-doubt. You stop questioning whether you can handle life. You know that you can because you already are. This inner belief becomes unshakable. It anchors you when uncertainty appears. It steadies you when fear tries to rise. Pressure teaches you responsibility. You begin to see clearly that no one else is coming to rescue your future. Your growth depends on your daily choices. This awareness sharpens your actions. You stop waiting for ideal conditions. You start building in the conditions you have. This shift is where real power begins. When pressure becomes normal, you stop fearing difficult seasons. You stop wishing for easier days. You develop confidence in your ability to navigate whatever arrives. This confidence does not come from comfort. It comes from experience. Experience under pressure, experience under weight, experience under responsibility. Daily pressure humbles you in the best way. It removes ego and replaces it with grounded self-awareness. You learn to respect effort. You learn to value consistency. You understand that real growth is earned through endurance, not imagined through motivation. This humility becomes the soil where lasting success grows. Pressure also strengthens your focus. When life demands more from you, you become selective with your time. You stop wasting hours. You stop chasing noise. You become precise with your energy. This focus multiplies your results. It makes your actions more effective and your progress more reliable. The person who grows under pressure develops quiet confidence, not the loud kind that seeks attention, but the steady kind that commands respect. They know who they are because they have been tested. They know what they can handle because they have survived difficulty. This confidence is not fragile. It does not break when challenged. Over time, pressure rewires your nervous system. Your stress tolerance increases, your emotional stability improves. Situations that once caused anxiety now feel manageable. This adaptation allows you to operate at higher levels of responsibility without collapsing. You become the kind of person others can rely on. Pressure prepares you for leadership, even if you never seek a title. You learn how to carry weight without complaint. You learn how to make decisions when outcomes are uncertain. You learn how to remain calm when others panic. These qualities make you valuable in any environment. The more pressure you survive, the more capacity you develop for future challenges. Life does not become easier, but you become stronger. This is the true reward of endurance. Not a life without problems, but a self capable of overcoming them. Each difficult day contributes to your foundation. Nothing is wasted. Every struggle, every long night, every heavy responsibility becomes part of your strength. One day, you will look back and realize those were the days that built you. Pressure also teaches gratitude. You begin to appreciate progress, small victories, and the quiet growth that happens beneath the surface. You stop taking your strength for granted. You recognize how far you have come. This gratitude becomes fuel for your next season of effort. When pressure feels overwhelming, remember that it is not here to break you, it is here to refine you. What you survive today becomes the power you carry tomorrow. This understanding changes how you experience hardship. Strength is not created in dramatic moments. It is built in ordinary days filled with pressure, responsibility, and effort. And each day you continue, you are becoming stronger than you were before. Pressure forces you to confront the parts of yourself that comfort keeps hidden. Underweight, excuses collapse, and your true habits surface. You begin to see clearly where you are disciplined and where you are not. This awareness is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. You cannot strengthen what you refuse to examine. Pressure becomes the mirror that reveals who you truly are and who you must become. As pressure increases, you begin to develop self-control at deeper levels. You no longer allow small emotions to dictate big decisions. You stop letting temporary feelings sabotage long-term goals. Instead of reacting, you respond. This emotional mastery creates stability in your life. Stability creates clarity, and clarity allows you to move with confidence through uncertainty. When you face pressure daily, your mind becomes sharper. You begin solving problems instead of avoiding them. You think strategically instead of emotionally. Over time, your ability to navigate complex situations improves. You stop fearing responsibility and start embracing it as proof of your growth. Pressure also trains your body. Your stamina increases. Your endurance expands. Tasks that once drained you become manageable. This physical and mental adaptation allows you to handle larger goals without collapsing under their weight. Each time you rise to meet pressure, you strengthen your internal standards. You stop accepting mediocrity. You raise the level of effort you expect from yourself. This shift changes your identity. You are no longer someone who tries. You become someone who executes. Daily pressure strips away procrastination. When demands are real, delay becomes dangerous. You learn to act when action is required. This habit alone accelerates your growth faster than motivation ever could. Under pressure, you develop courage. You stop fearing failure because you are too busy building. You stop worrying about judgment because you are focused on progress. This courage fuels every meaningful achievement in your life. Pressure also teaches you humility. You realize how much effort success truly requires. You stop underestimating the journey and start respecting the process. This humility keeps you grounded and committed. As pressure becomes normal, you become emotionally stronger. You stop breaking under stress. You bend, adapt, and continue. This flexibility is one of the highest forms of strength. Pressure transforms your relationship with difficulty. You stop seeing it as something to escape and start seeing it as something to master. This change reshapes your entire outlook on life. You begin to understand that pressure is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of progress. Growth always demands weight, and you are becoming capable of carrying it. Every challenge you survive becomes proof of your resilience. That proof builds self-belief, and self-belief fuels future courage. Pressure sharpens your discipline. You stop negotiating with yourself. You simply do what must be done. This discipline becomes your greatest weapon. The more you endure, the more unstoppable you become. You stop fearing storms because you know how to walk through them. Pressure builds the foundation for long-term success. Without it, your achievements remain fragile. With it, they become permanent. You learn that comfort weakens, but pressure strengthens, and strength is what carries you through life's greatest tests. Eventually, pressure becomes your teacher. Every hard season leaves you wiser, steadier, and more capable. One day, you will realize that the pressure you once resented created the power you now depend on. This is the secret of real growth, the willingness to carry weight consistently even when no one is watching. And that willingness is what transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones. Chapter say, turn pain into progress. Pain enters your life without invitation, but it never arrives without purpose. Every hardship, every disappointment, every moment of loss carries the potential for transformation if you are willing to face it fully. Pain strips away illusion and reveals what truly matters. It forces you to confront yourself honestly, without excuses or distractions. When you learn how to remain present with pain instead of escaping it, you unlock the most powerful form of growth available to a human being. Most people try to run from pain. They numb it, avoid it, or bury it under comfort and distraction. But unresolved pain does not disappear. It waits. It follows you into your future, shaping your choices in silence. When you choose to face your pain, you reclaim your power. You stop allowing the past to dictate your present. You transform suffering from a wound into a teacher. Pain teaches you awareness. It slows you down long enough to examine your life. You begin to question your habits, your decisions, your relationships, and your direction. This reflection is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Growth cannot occur without honesty, and pain is the force that makes honesty unavoidable. Every painful season is an invitation to evolve. The version of you that entered the storm cannot survive it unchanged. Something must shift. Something must be released. Something must be strengthened. When you accept this process, pain becomes the tool that carves you into someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded. Turning pain into progress requires courage. You must choose to stay open when your instinct is to close. You must choose to learn when your instinct is to withdraw. You must choose to continue building even when your heart feels heavy. This choice is where transformation begins. Pain exposes your emotional patterns. It reveals how you respond when life becomes difficult. Do you collapse, escape, or confront? Each response determines the direction of your future. When you train yourself to confront pain with intention, you convert suffering into strength. Growth does not come from pain itself. It comes from your response to pain. Two people can experience the same hardship. One becomes bitter, the other becomes powerful. The difference is not the event. It is the mindset. Pain also teaches compassion. When you suffer, you begin to understand the struggles of others more deeply. Your heart softens, your perspective widens. This emotional intelligence becomes one of your greatest assets in relationships and leadership. When pain enters your life, your old identity begins to dissolve. You are forced to let go of the version of yourself that depended on comfort and certainty. In its place, a stronger version begins to form. This rebirth is difficult, but it is necessary. Each painful experience leaves behind knowledge. You learn what you can survive. You learn what truly matters. You learn where your boundaries must be drawn. This knowledge becomes the blueprint for your next chapter. Pain teaches patience. Healing is not instant. Growth is not immediate. You must stay committed to the process even when progress feels invisible. This patience builds emotional endurance. Through pain, you develop humility. You realize how fragile life can be. You stop taking time, health, and relationships for granted. This awareness reshapes your priorities. Pain also sharpens your focus. When everything else falls away, you are left with what is essential. This clarity helps you rebuild your life on a stronger foundation. Each time you survive pain, your self-trust grows. You stop fearing hardship because you have proof of your resilience. That proof becomes your strength. Pain becomes progress when you extract its lessons. Every struggle contains insight. Every loss carries wisdom. Every hardship offers direction. When you choose to move forward despite pain, you become unbreakable. You prove to yourself that you are stronger than your circumstances. Pain also refines your character. It removes arrogance. It builds gratitude. It deepens your integrity. The person you become after pain is often the person you were always meant to be. The suffering simply clears the path. Growth born from pain is permanent. Comfort fades. Strength remains. And when you turn pain into progress, you turn your past into your power. Pain forces you to slow down and listen to your inner world in ways comfort never will. In the quiet moments of struggle, you begin to hear the truth about what you need to change. Old habits that no longer serve you become impossible to ignore. Relationships that drain your energy become clearer. The direction your life must take begins to reveal itself with painful honesty. This awareness is the beginning of real progress. When pain stays long enough, it breaks the illusion of control. You realize that not everything in life bends to your will. This realization humbles you, but it also frees you. You stop fighting reality and start working with it. From that moment, your energy becomes focused, your mind becomes calmer, and your decisions become wiser. Pain strengthens your emotional muscles. Each time you endure heartbreak, loss, disappointment, or failure without giving up, your capacity to handle life expands. You become steadier. You become braver. You become more resilient. This resilience is not loud, but it is powerful. It carries you through storms that once would have shattered you. Through pain, you learn how to protect your peace. You stop allowing people and situations to disturb your inner balance. You set boundaries. You choose your battles carefully. You conserve your emotional energy. This self-respect becomes the foundation of your next level of growth. Pain reshapes your identity. You are no longer the same person who entered the struggle. The lessons you carry transform your outlook. You see the world differently. You value yourself differently. You approach life with deeper awareness and greater purpose. Every time you transform pain into wisdom, you gain an advantage. You stop repeating the same mistakes. You stop chasing what once hurt you. You begin creating a life that supports your healing and your growth. Pain teaches you to release what you cannot control. You stop clinging to outcomes. You stop resisting change. You learn to flow with life instead of fighting it. This acceptance creates inner strength. When you survive pain, your gratitude deepens. You no longer take simple moments for granted. You cherish progress, peace, and stability. This gratitude anchors you during future challenges. Pain gives birth to purpose. Many people discover their true direction only after suffering forces them to question their old path. Out of struggle comes clarity. Out of hardship comes vision. You stop fearing pain once you understand its role in your evolution. You begin to see it as part of your journey instead of an obstacle. This shift changes everything. The wisdom gained through pain cannot be taught. It must be lived. And once earned, it becomes part of who you are forever. Pain also builds courage. You realize that if you survived your hardest moments, you can face whatever comes next. This confidence makes you fearless in pursuit of your goals. When you turn pain into progress, you reclaim control over your story. You are no longer a victim of your past. You become the author of your future. Every struggle becomes a stepping stone. Every wound becomes a source of strength. Every tear becomes proof of your endurance. You stop running from pain and start walking through it, and in doing so, you discover the strongest version of yourself. Your life does not move forward in spite of pain. It moves forward because of it. The progress you build from pain is unshakable. It does not collapse when life becomes hard again. Your scars become reminders of your resilience, not your weakness. You carry your pain with pride, not shame, because it made you who you are. And when you finally look back, you realize that your greatest growth was born from your deepest pain. Chapter 7. Become the person who finishes what they start. Finishing what you start is not a personality trait, it is a discipline you build over time. Most people begin with excitement and hope, but few carry that energy through the difficult middle. The middle is where motivation fades and resistance rises. This is where your identity is decided. The person who finishes is not special, they are trained. They have learned how to continue long after the thrill of beginning has disappeared. When you become someone who finishes, you develop an unshakable form of self-trust. You stop doubting your ability to follow through. You no longer question whether you will keep your word to yourself. This trust becomes the foundation of confidence. Confidence shapes your decisions, and your decisions shape your life. Every unfinished project leaves a quiet weight on your mind. Over time, these unfinished stories weaken your belief in yourself. Each time you complete something difficult, that belief is restored. Completion strengthens your identity. It tells your mind that you are reliable, that you are capable, that you are not controlled by discomfort. The habit of finishing is built through small victories. You do not need to conquer everything at once. You only need to finish what is in front of you. One task, one goal, one commitment. Each completion builds momentum that makes the next one easier. Finishing teaches you patience. It forces you to stay engaged when progress feels slow. It trains your mind to tolerate discomfort without escaping. This patience becomes emotional strength. When you learn to finish, excuses lose their influence. You stop negotiating with your feelings. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You act because you decided to act. This discipline transforms your entire approach to life. Becoming someone who finishes means learning how to carry responsibility without resentment. You stop complaining about the work and start respecting it. You understand that your future is built by what you complete, not what you start. The world is full of people with ideas. Few have results. Results belong to those who finish. When you finish consistently, opportunities begin to trust you. People begin to rely on you. You become valuable in any environment. Each time you finish despite difficulty, your mental toughness increases. You become comfortable with the uncomfortable. You learn that discomfort is temporary, but pride in completion is lasting. The person who finishes develops emotional stability. They do not abandon goals when feelings fluctuate. They remain steady when motivation disappears. This stability becomes a rare and powerful advantage. Finishing builds self-respect. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You stop lowering your standards. You become someone you admire. This internal respect fuels every other form of growth. When you finish what you start, your life becomes organized. Chaos reduces. Clarity increases. You gain control over your direction. This sense of control strengthens your confidence. The habit of finishing protects you from regret. You stop carrying the weight of unfinished dreams. You replace it with pride in completed work. Each completed goal becomes proof of your strength. Over time, this proof creates unstoppable belief in your ability to succeed. You do not become the person who finishes overnight. You become that person through repetition, through discipline, through commitment. Finishing is not about talent. It is about persistence. Persistence creates results. Results create identity. When you finish what you start, you change the way you see yourself. You become dependable, reliable, strong. Your future is built on what you complete today. And every time you finish, you step closer to the person you are meant to become. When you develop the habit of finishing, you stop living in fragments. Your life becomes cohesive. Your efforts connect. Your goals align. You are no longer someone who drifts between intentions. You become someone who moves with purpose. This sense of direction strengthens your mind and stabilizes your emotions. Finishing what you start forces you to confront your weaknesses honestly. You learn where your discipline breaks down. You learn where your patience is tested. You learn where your focus fades. Each discovery gives you an opportunity to grow stronger instead of repeating the same patterns. The person who finishes does not rely on emotional highs. They continue working through doubt, fear, boredom, and fatigue. This emotional independence makes them powerful. They are no longer controlled by temporary feelings. They are driven by long-term vision. Finishing requires courage. You must be willing to face failure, mistakes, and setbacks without running away. Each challenge becomes part of your training. Over time, these challenges stop intimidating you. You develop calm confidence in the face of difficulty. When you finish what you start, you send a message to your mind that you are capable of hard things. This message becomes your identity. It shapes your decisions. It guides your future. Finishing strengthens your relationship with effort. You stop seeing work as punishment and start seeing it as investment. Every task completed becomes a deposit into your future. The more often you finish, the quieter the voice of self-doubt becomes. Your mind stops questioning your ability. You trust yourself because you have evidence. Finishing builds momentum. Each completed project fuels the next. Progress becomes addictive in the healthiest way. The discipline of finishing spreads into every area of your life. Your relationships improve, your health improves, your finances improve. Everything becomes more stable when your actions are consistent. You stop living in potential and start living in results. This shift transforms how you experience life. The person who finishes develops deep self-respect. You admire the version of yourself that does not quit. That admiration becomes motivation. Over time, finishing becomes natural. You no longer struggle with follow-through. It becomes part of who you are. Your life begins to reflect your effort. The results you see are no longer accidental. They are intentional. You become someone others depend on, someone others respect, someone others trust. The world opens doors for people who finish. Opportunity follows reliability. Every completed task strengthens your future. Every finished goal builds your legacy. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be persistent. The person who finishes does not wait for permission. They create their own path. Your destiny is shaped by what you complete, not what you imagine. And when you become the person who finishes what they start, your life will never be the same again. In the end, your life will not be shaped by how you felt, but by what you did. Every time you chose effort over excuses, discipline over delay, and action over comfort, you were quietly building the future you want to live in. Life will continue to test you. It will never stop being hard, but you become stronger every time you refuse to stop. You don't need perfect conditions to move forward. You only need commitment. Commitment to show up on the days when you feel empty. Commitment to continue when the results are invisible. Commitment to finish what you start, even when the weight of the world is on your shoulders. So when life feels heavy and your strength feels small, remember this: you are not here to wait for the storm to pass. You are here to learn how to walk through it. Push yourself, get it done, and never walk away from the work that builds your future.